So it's interesting what comes to you at 1:37 in the morning. It was it was a few days after the Vision Quest, and I got back from the Vision Quest on the Friday, and this was a Monday. No, it was a Tuesday. I was seeing a client in the morning, so it was Monday night, and I had a pretty big training load the day before. A few sessions or a session of jiu-jitsu, and then also some training at football and some weights as well. And then must have just been, I'm not sure what it was, but it just came to me early in that morning, and I was like, boom, wide awake. And this concept versus this concept of to you versus for you, and I was just laying there thinking about it, the concept versus something happening to you versus something happening for you, and the difference that statement makes in our psyche and in how we respond to that. And I reflected at night about, straight away I was like, oh, is this like, I thought this was straight away a message for me. And I went, oh yeah, well, I just look at the physical first, the things that have happened to me, and I was thinking about my injuries, and I won't list all of them, but there's an extensive list of injuries that I've had, some with surgery, some not surgery, through my rugby league career. And every time I've had one of those injuries, it made me focus on myself, or it made me become better. For instance, I had the big one I had was a shoulder reconstruction, and going through that made me realize, the importance of the shoulder joint, the health of the shoulder joint, not just the, have I got good strong pecs and a strong back? It's like, no, what about the rotator cuff? Mm-hmm. The muscles that are in the rotator cuff. Okay, cool, that's great. What about the joint? Oh yeah, well, what about the bursa that's in the joint? Okay, what about the bones? The bones strong? How's the labrum around there, which is what I ruptured when I did the injury? And then it's like, well, what supports all of that? How's the fascia that's around the muscle? And just looking deeper into, okay, well, then on the other side of that is like, how is my training? And was I training enough to prevent the injury? What was my nutrition? How was my range of motion going in, like before I had the injury? What had I done in the past? So, and it made me look at my shoulder health in a whole different way, and also tap into the clues that my body is leaving me or informing me. And there's a great book, The Body Keeps the Score, around, how our emotions show up in our body as well. The energy that's in our, in our bodies as a result of trauma or all those sorts of things. So this concept I started thinking about was for myself, and then after I did a bit of journaling, which every time I wake up at night and I'm like, whoa, wide awake, okay, well, I go and journal, read a book, do a Sudoku. I'm out there with, I journaled first because I was like, oh yeah, cool, I'll just get this. No, sorry. I read a book first because I was nearly finished a book that I've been reading for about 3 months, and it's a pretty deep philosophical book that my mentor wrote. So it was a bit of a concept, trying to get my mind around it and put myself in the story that he was telling, and it was sort of interesting that I got to finish that, and I was like, oh cool, I'll go to sleep now. And I was laying down, I'm like, oh no, it's still there in your head. So I got up, and then when I wrote it down, I was like, oh right, and I mapped it all out in my journal. And when I was mapping it out, I thought about, this isn't actually for me, this is for a client that I'm seeing tomorrow. And I was like, well, once I got that out, then I was like, okay, it's out. And I suppose releasing that emotion, I realised, it stimulated my mind, and I've released that energy. And yeah, I'm a little bit tired, but I'm still a little bit wide. Mm-hmm. So I had to, I actually picked up a whole new book. Started reading another book that I'm looking at the moment, and reading into at the moment. and then I picked up some Sudoku to get my cognitive brain tired as well, because that sort of engaged when I was thinking about the 2U versus 4U. Anyway, come the next day, and I was like, catching up with this client, and he was in a really good spot, and I told him this concept and asked him questions around, and I was like, oh yeah, wow, that's some of his insights then informed me around how I could shift my perspective about it even further. And his statement was, to me is like, he doesn't really have, it feels like it's an attack. It's happened to him. It's come into him, like it's coming to him. It's happened to him, or the situation's happening to him. Whereas, when he spoke about for him, it's happened for him, it gives him some power, some sense of ownership. He said it gives me a little bit of control over what I can do, think, feel. Like it's happened for me, and he'll find different ways of dealing with it in his mind. And that for me opened up, to me versus for me is like it's, if you look at, it's not like, it's like the attack. It's like, to me is like an attack on you, where it's like jiu-jitsu. How do I use my opponent's strength as their own weakness? And I think, that's why I love jiu-jitsu. I love martial arts, because martial arts are about, jiu-jitsu as a martial art is around using your opponent's strength against them. And so turning their strength into a weakness. Like an overplayed strength becomes a weakness. So you really have to, in jiu-jitsu, really round out your game. Otherwise, someone will, watch you in one tournament or competition or roll, and then the next one they'll go, I can see his patterning or her patterning, and I can see that. I can see their patterning, and then they discover your game, and they can work you out pretty quick. So I thought it was for this client, and then all of a sudden I was, we were together at the coffee shop, and then it bumped into another client. So then as it so happened, they were going through something very similar, and I shared this concept, and I actually think that the client that I thought it was for, originally I thought it was for me, but for the client, and then it actually turned out it wasn't for neither of us. It was actually for this other client as well, which sort of in turn helped me out as well. And she actually said, I'm trying to remember, it was a Nikola Tesla quote, wasn't it?
Yes. What was that?
Have you got it? It was beautiful too.
It
It was so powerful. I felt it, and I was like, wow. Anyway, we'll link that to, we'll put a little quote there, we'll find out what that was. But I was a C.S. Lewis. That's right, a C.S. Lewis quote. It's slowly coming. Anywho, we'll put it in our little
it actually reminds me, that concept of a Peter Crone quote, because obviously bad things or challenging things happen in all of our lives, but he reminds us that it couldn't have happened any other way, because it didn't. We're all living in this reality, and things will happen to us or for us. And what do you think you can do when you move from that place of something's happening to me, to it's happening for me?
Yeah, it's actually interesting. We've gone through this recently in our lives, and we've spoken about this a lot. Of like, when you do change just that word "to me" versus "for me," it's literally and the T to an F and an R. So it's but the O is still there. So it shifts. It's a whole different paradigm shift is what I wrote down in my book. And I would just actually grab that, because the process, and just to confirm, there was actually a sentence that I wrote down as well. It's those, and I've got down here, turning the wounds taking the wisdom, drawing the wisdom out of my wounds is what I wrote down. And that is probably a concept or a philosophy that I followed as a energy medicine practitioner or a shaman. Like it's how do we turn our something that we've gone through in the past, that adversity, into a strength or a superpower. And I say this to a lot of the young men and young women that I work with, some of the athletes, is whatever you believe, whether that be God, Jesus, Tao, Allah, Krishna, Buddha, and any higher power, faith, or if you do believe in a universal higher power or something greater than ourselves, that they or that would not give you anything that you can't handle. And so when you put it in that context and you go, right, well, thank you for this gift, this challenge, this adversity that I'm currently going through, or this whatever it is. Thank you. Please show me a way. Please give me some information on how to navigate this, or show me a sign, or obviously I have the tools and the resources to be able to handle it because it's there for me. And then if I don't have the tools or the resources, I'm certainly going to find them. And maybe that's what it's there for,
to
is
cultivate that.
Yeah, to cultivate that, to find that. And maybe it's around communicating that. Communicating it is what you're after. Maybe it's like, let's just say I'll come up against the challenge, and let's just say for one of my clients, they found out some information. They're like, oh wow, this is really, really challenging. And then it's like, well, who do I need to find that I can share this with, or who can help me, who's been through a similar sort of situation that could change my perspective, or help me to change my perspective on this, or who's been through a similar experience that I have, that will give me maybe it's like one little snippet of wisdom or a concept that I can look at to go, oh wow, it's a different way of looking at it. Like you just said about Peter Crone. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Yeah. So how do you think, if someone's got a real challenge in their life at the moment and they feel like it's all up against them, what is that first step to shift you out of that position?
Yeah, I think sitting in it. And I know this sounds so counterintuitive because it's the most challenging thing to do. And when I was in, some 12-step programs that I've done in the past, they would call it the 3 A's. And so the first one was awareness, acceptance, and then action. So the awareness first is like, okay, well, sit in whatever it is, even though that's hard to do. Like it's normal to say, when I go and try and distract myself. And there is another strategy around distracting yourself around those needs for in a short term, but in the long term, is it like, have some awareness around, okay, where am I at? What's happening? What tools or resources have I got? And that's the, awareness. And then the next thing is you must accept it. So awareness, I've got a problem, sit in it, okay. Accept it, okay, well, yep, I've got a challenge. That's exactly what it is, it's a challenge. But then what's your actions to move out of that? And the action is where things start to, you find motivation and you start to move forward with it. Because let's just say if there's trauma, there's grief, or there's something like, pushing it away, it's still going to be there. Yeah. It's still going to be there. And even if you don't, and I'm not saying to lean into it too soon or too early, the time is right. When it comes up, the time is to process it when it comes up. I still remember, sitting at, your auntie's funeral. And to this day, I was like, man, something came over me, and in the middle of not in the middle of the funeral, at the end of the funeral, it all came out of me. And I just started to bawl, and I remember the kids coming up to me. I was like, I could not hold that in. And part of me wanted to, because I was sitting in the front row with all of our family and just losing it. And, you know, she was my auntie. It still is my auntie. But at the same time, like, it's, you know, she's your direct family. And you know, and your mum, which her sister and her other sister. And, you know, that they weren't really crying. So I was like, oh, what right do I have to cry here? But it was like, nah, it's here.
Yep.
I have to cry. Don't get me wrong, I don't get it right all the time, but you know, it's still a...
You felt it in the moment.
Yeah, felt it in the moment, and then just, you know, awareness. Okay, well, it's here.
Yeah.
Accept it. Yeah, here, let it come through, and then action. But the tears came rolling, and it was needed to be. So.
Yeah.
But that's not easy either.
No.
It's never easy in the moment.
No.
But I felt so much better after it. So glad that happened.
And you still, you know, you managed to take the lessons from that as well, and also use that as a teaching moment for our kids as well, in terms of being vulnerable, feeling your emotions, it's okay to cry, you know, all those things that we really tried to nurture in our own kids. Like, that was a beautiful teachable moment of a real life example of that happening. So,
yeah, absolutely.
You know, it's not like you were playing the victim, you would just, it was happening, this is what was happening for you, and... Yeah, we took some lessons from that for sure. And I'm sure the kids did as well.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and you know, even on that, like the to me versus for me, you know, with that, you know, it didn't happen to me directly, but you know, I felt the ripple effect from our family. And, you know, I'm just so grateful for what she taught us and all of us, and just her presence, and you know, who she is as a person, and was as a person. And,
beautiful. Anything else you want to say on the topic?
Yeah, it doesn't come easy though. You know, it doesn't come easy. And I've taken a lot of it takes time to get to that. You don't just go, oh, it's I'm saying it here like it's to me versus for me, or to me and or for me, because things can happen to you and for you, and you can make it both, you know. But the more I lean towards for me, I've got more empowerment.
Yes.
Because things do happen to us, but I believe it's for us. So yeah, it's just and it's taken me a long time to realise that, you know, I'm in control of how I respond to things, not directly what comes to me. So something that comes to me, it's not like, you know, I've got to have the answer to it. It's like, oh, okay, well, maybe this isn't, you know, this is to me now, but it's for me in the future.
Yeah.
Because the lessons sometimes, you know, it might be for the future, might not be for now. So
true.
But how can I make that for me now? How can I take something out for me now? So, and maybe I'm wired like that, and I've really tried to wire myself like that too. To try and go, okay, well, there's a lesson in this, and that gives me some sort of autonomy in the situation, allow me to take control over my responses and the way I, give me some power back in a situation.
Awesome. Thank you.
Pleasure. Thank you. Over and out.
Over and out.